I've unscrewed this switch, and those two screws there have actually broken off in the holes. So might drill them out, might just see they're pretty much flush. Might just fill them and paint them anyway. We'll see. That hole's where the cable was obviously going down, and that has to be filled. And I'm having trouble with these two screws. But obviously I'll win there in the end. And we'll remove this little lamp light. You'll remember that very spotty, corroded brass tube top. Well, I've taken it down to the workshop and rubbed away the worst of that. There's an obvious join mark there where the original lacquer starts. So my idea is, as I mentioned, to use this upside down. So this way now. And I think it will go on there happily. I'll just double check that. The tube is in reasonable condition up here, the lacquer. So with just some soap and water, make that as good as it can be, I think it's good enough. And the join mark is somewhere under there, which won't be seen. So the plan is just to polish that up better, give it a flat surface, and then lacquer it up before that bottom half oxidises again. You'll possibly remember this beaten up, burnt and generally unsatisfactory piece of mahogany which needed to be replaced. Well, I found this old Games tally board mahogany strip at a local junk shop, and the world has many more of these than it needs, so I decided that could be sacrificed. Hence the chunk out there, which is now here. And it's not a perfect match by any means, but that's going to be okay. So the door hinge has been sorted out, and that's all ready. There's a bit of a mess over here. The screws refuse to come out, so there are dead screw bits in there. I don't like the idea of drilling them in case I miss and make more holes in the wood. So I've got to think about that a little bit. Now, this is the metal lining, which I've just removed most of the rust that was nasty and flaky, and then rather than risk it going to holes by removing all the rust, I've given it a coat of rust converter, which converts what's left of the rust into a black solid oxide, and then it needs waxing shortly before it starts to oxidize again, and then that can go back in. You don't see any of the outside of this, and you only see the inside of it even when you're inside the lantern doing something, so the spectator never sees it anyway. For the dome top, which has now got a light coat of oxide, I think that'll be alright, and the dome I'm going to use the Director Rust paint, in this case Hammerite Smooth Black, and hope that's okay. I think it'll look alright. I had intended to maybe polish this up so we had a bare metal look, but there are some problems with it. A little patch I've had to make there, and other problems, some staining that won't disappear without risking taking the whole thing to holes, so Hammerite it is. I'm just finishing these two replacement rails for the base. They were missing, so to smooth that off with a fair bit of whittling. So now they need to be painted. The miters are not too bad. I didn't have a miter board handy, but I think it'll be okay. And that's almost finished. Nearly done. This one too. Lots of little nooks and crannies in there that have to be painted twice. But that's about done. And these have now got the undercoat primer on them. I had to add some 1mm ply underneath because the wood wasn't quite deep enough. But that's done that job. So now some black on there. But those two rails, the front base rail and back base rail, are now on. Just some work to do to those corners, and then another rubbing down. So we've now got 4 base rails. So this is the unit, basically heatsink and a little fan there which needs a separate 12-volt supply. And that's the 50-watt LED display that goes on there. And then there's a lens thing that goes over the top, basically. And before this can go onto the heatsink, the back of it has to be splodged with this thermal cream. So that's what I'm about to do now. That's the messy bit, hence the gloves.